Welcome back to Meet Me at the Grizz, the podcast where we share stories, voices, and experiences that make Rotary Scout Reservation a special place. I'm your host, Ken Clough. Each week, we sit down with the people who have helped shape the Rotary experience, from longtime staff members and alumni to new leaders and scouts discovering camp for the very first time. These conversations bring to life the spirit of camp, the friendships, the leadership, the lessons, and the laughter that continue long after summer ends. In today's episode, we're talking to Kyle Kearney, a longtime staff member at Rotary who's held nearly every role you can think of. Kyle shares what it's like to work on staff, the importance of training, and how the lessons learned at Rotary extend far beyond camp. We'll talk about his journey through his multiple staff positions, what National Camping School is really like, what happens during staff week before campers arrive, and the life skills that come from working on staff, including leadership, public speaking, teamwork, and conflict resolution. And finally, Kyle shares his advice for anyone thinking about joining the Rotary staff. So, let's jump into the conversation. Kyle's staff positions. Kyle's story begins the same way many great staff stories do, as a camper. What started as one summer job turned into decades of leadership, service, and memories at Rotary. Here's Kyle talking about the many staff positions he's held over the years and how his journey began. Well, Kyle, welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy that you could join us here today. You've been at Rotary Scout Reservation for some time now on staff in various capacities. Could you tell us a little bit about what your background is at Rotary Scout Reservation and some of the roles that you've been involved in?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, first of all, for having me. Really excited to be here and excited to be a part of this project. So I started as pretty much almost every staff member, for the most part, as a camper many years ago, and I stopped as a camper after my summer of 1996, and a couple of the guys in my troop were working on staff, and in the spring of 1999, I got a phone call from one of the guys saying, hey, they're looking for an assistant waterfront director for this summer if you're interested. And I said, I thought when I was a younger camper, I thought about working on staff would be really cool. And I always looked up to the staff members, and but I never really followed through on it. I had other jobs and so on. I said, you know what? I would like to work at camp. So I applied for the job and I got it. And that started off a long career of many different positions, many different summers at camp. I started out as the assistant aquatics director. I also have been the aquatics director, the health officer, the COPE and climbing director, program director, and assistant camp director.
National Camping School. To prepare for those roles, staff like Kyle go through a lot of training, including a special certification program called National Camping School. It's an intensive, week-long experience that prepares area directors from across the country to lead safe and effective programs at their camps. Kyle explains what National Camping School is all about and how it shaped his approach to leadership and safety. You filled a lot of roles at Rotary. In order to do all those roles, you must have been involved in some training. And I know that a big part of training, especially for some of the senior staff roles, involves attending National Camp School. And I know that you've been to National Camp School a few times. Could you tell people what National Camp School is and some of the training that you've done at National Camp School?
Absolutely, yeah. So National Camping School, a lot of the area director roles at camp require the director to attend and be certified by the National Camping School programs, depending on their area. Aquatics, COPE, climbing, shooting sports, outdoor skills. The program directors and camp directors, camp rangers all have to go through this school. And it's a week-long school. I mean, they're long days. They start at 7 a.m. and oftentimes you're going until 9:30, 10 o'clock, sometimes later at night with studying and working in your groups on projects and things of that nature. But essentially, the program is designed to train you in everything you need to know and how to be an effective area director and how to train your staff all the safety things that need to be discussed with, with regards to the program area you're going to be running. Some of them, require specific certifications. Aquatic directors, you have to be a lifeguard. You have to have CPR and first aid certifications. You have to go through all that training. Shooting sports, they get the NRA certifications for range safety officers and things of that nature. COPE and climbing directors go through all of the safety, and so it's really a lot of stuff. It's training you to become an effective director, but also a safe director, and how to run a program safely and efficiently and properly, as well as how to train your staff to do the same during the course of summer camp.
I know I had the opportunity to be a scoutmaster at National Camp School for a couple years when it was at Rotary Scout Reservation. The program directors and other directors that are training there do work very hard. I was there to guide them around Rotary, and they would pretty much go, like you said, from the morning until the nighttime, and they're out learning, practicing in all the different areas that they're in charge of. And what I really noticed as the scoutmaster at National Camp School was that they were all very eager to learn, and they pushed themselves really hard to learn as much as they can to make their own camping experiences when they get back to their home camps, as good as it could be.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that's one of the things I always look forward to going to camp school as both a participant, and then later on, I spent many summers or many years with the opportunity to work on staff at National Camping School, helping to train other area directors from other camps, and there's people coming in from camps all over the country, as far away as Washington State, California, Puerto Rico, Texas. It's a great experience to not only learn those skills, but network with people from other camps. And it gives us the ability to see how they run their programs and some of the differences maybe in those programs, which is great for me because I'm not above taking ideas from other camps and bringing them back to Rotary if it's going to make it better for our scouts and our staff. So it's kind of a great thing where I can take everybody's ideas and kind of merge them into what we think would work best for our camp, and also sharing how we do things and hopefully passing on the way we've done things to help other camps, maybe can improve their program based on something that they like from ours.
Yeah, I observed the same thing when I was scoutmaster at National Camp School. It was kind of like a best practices incubator where everyone's really trying to find out the best ways that they can deliver the programs at their camp. So that I agree with you there. That is, one of the fun parts of it, listening to everybody talk about what they're doing and how to do it, and everybody really wants to make the best possible scouting experience. Is there any special memory you have about National Camp School, special area that you were involved in?
Well, it's different each time, and that's the great thing about it is it travels around. So I've attended National Camp Schools as participants. I've also staffed National Camp Schools at camps all over New York and Massachusetts, New Hampshire. So it's kind of cool because I get to see other camps' facilities and differences and things like that to bring back to our camp. So there was a guy that used to run the National Camping School for the Northeast region, Doug Fulman, and he retired in his late 60s, I think, or he might have been close to 70 by the time he finally gave it up and retired. But just watching him each year, he did a 2-hour-long one-man campfire to train us how to run campfires at our camps, as far as skits and songs and cheers and they called it Fulman's Follies. And it was a 2-hour-long, basically one-man campfire. He performed one-man skits, one-man songs, one-man cheers to kind of train us in how the flow of a campfire should work as far as building up at the very beginning when the fire is its biggest and roaring, and then kind of slowing things down towards the end as the fire starts to die down towards coal state, and how to bring the audience along with you and audience participation to keep everybody excited. And that's a huge thing for us because we open every week of camp on Sunday night with that opening campfire, and you really want to set the tone for the week at that point, as far as the excitement and the fellowship that goes along. So that's probably one of my favorite things I always looked forward to every year.
Staff Week at Rotary Scout Reservation. Before the first camper ever arrives, there's another essential part of staff preparation, Staff Week. It's when the team comes together to set up camp, train, and connect as a community. For new staff, it's an introduction to what camp life is all about. For returning staff, it's a time to rebuild teamwork and spirit. Kyle takes us behind the scenes of what Staff Week at Rotary really looks like. Another kind of training that's vital, I think, that happens at Rotary Scout Reservation is Staff Week. I think a lot of people don't really understand or realize that before they even get to camp, a lot of different things go into making sure that the camp is ready. Part of it is obviously the National Camp School, but locally there's Staff Week that happens at Rotary the week before camp opens. Could you talk a little bit about how it prepares new staff members and really retrains the staff members that have been there before?
Yeah, absolutely. So Staff Week is almost like the local camp's version of camp school, but not just for area directors, for the entire staff, in general. And it's a great opportunity for, as you said, new staff members coming in that maybe they've been to camp as a camper, maybe they haven't. We've hired people on staff before that haven't been campers at camp and don't really kind of understand exactly how each program area is involved in the overall camp experience. So, we bring them in and where the camp staff comes in together and kind of helps complete camp setup, making sure everything is kind of equipment wise and facility wise is on the way to being ready to go. There is some training that goes on. There's a lot of team building that goes on. The COPE director is usually very much involved with the program director and the camp director in team building events and activities, games, things of that nature to help the staff start to come together and mold as a unit. Regardless of what program areas or what area of the camp you're working in, everybody kind of needs to work together in a unit to be cohesive and provide that good experience for our campers when they come in. So that's a huge part of it, is just getting to know each other, getting comfortable with each other, learning to work with each other. And then to go along with that, then we get into training areas where obviously the area directors will take time to go over lesson plans with their junior staff members of how, all right, this is how we're going to counsel these merit badges, and these are the skills that we want to cover with them. But as a whole staff together, we'll come together and do general sessions. And, teaching styles is a big one. Like, everybody learns differently. Mm-hmm. As you spent a lot of time in education, as did I, and students learn differently. Scouts are no different. When we're learning new skills, maybe the way I normally teach somebody the way to tie a figure 8 knot just doesn't work for Scout B. So I need to have other ways to teach that skill. So that's a big part of it, is just learning different styles of learning from the Scouts, as well as different styles of teaching to kind of help meet those differences. So that's a big one, is just teaching techniques and counseling techniques. And then we go into customer service training. Obviously, every camper and every leader that walks into camp is a customer. And so we talk about how customer service works and how to work with people and meet those different needs that each person that walks through camp is going to have, or different expectation that each person walks into camp is going to have, to maybe make sure that we can give them the best possible experience when they come in. And as much as there's hundreds of scouts and leaders that are walking through the gates, each one of them has their own kind of expectation as to the experience they want to get. And we want to make sure that each one gets that experience, not just one for all. So customer service training, and to go along with that, things is conflict resolution. Kind of spend a lot of time going through, how can we handle that? How can we work together to come to a common solution for any kind of an issue or a conflict, and make sure that everybody walks away, happy and able to continue their positive experiences. Then there's a lot of other things, dealing with homesick campers, dealing with homesick staff members. First year staffers sometimes, can kind of get a little bit run down and get homesick just as much as campers can. Especially since the staff's there for 7 weeks. They're not just there for 1 week, they're there for the whole summer. So, working through how to work with each other, how to take care of each other, how to watch out for issues maybe that, somebody's having, and so on. So that's another big one. Obviously, we do a lot of first aid training, bloodborne pathogens, operational training as far as how to do different things around the camp that maybe there's so many more jobs that the staff does besides just that program area. You may be hired as a as a first year, instructor in the community safety program. And so you think, okay, hey, I'm just going to be there teaching first aid and teaching fire safety and teaching the fingerprinting merit badges and things like that. But there's so many other jobs that get done throughout the camp that maybe a lot of people don't know about if they've never worked on staff. Family barbecue night's a big one where, staff members, regardless of where you work during the week, you might be in the kitchen or you might be serving food. You might be in the parking lot helping direct traffic. Sundays before campers arrive, there's so much that goes into getting the camp ready and supplying, making sure the campsites are all stocked with the supplies that they need and ready to go. And the campfires are built, Sunday night, the campfires don't just magically appear there. Staff has to go and get that ready and collect the wood and get those built and make sure everything's ready to go. So there's a lot more that goes into being on staff besides just that program area that maybe you're hired to work in. So we do a lot of training to get everybody ready for all of that. And then we also go into a lot of youth protection training. So we train the staff in how to handle those situations as well.
One of the things you mentioned is conflict resolution, and Ed mentioned that in last week's podcast as an important staff, responsibility and a big training area for staff. Can you give some examples of what, conflict resolution might entail?
Oh, absolutely. And it can be a lot of different things, honestly. I mean, it can be something simple as, hey, it was my turn to do something and somebody else says, no, it's my turn. And, as far as waiting in line, maybe for the water slide at the waterfront, or, it's my turn to be on the firing line at the rifle range. Like anybody else, you become a family, and like anybody else in the family, sometimes somebody might get on somebody else's nerves. So just learning to work through differences and work through, hey, I'm not happy that you did this, or I'm not happy you didn't do that. But being able to kind of work through that and come to a solution that makes everybody kind of feel important and feel like part of the process, and making sure that everybody can walk away and continue to go on and have a good experience and things like that. So we kind of work with the staff to come up with some ways to kind of work through those situations and help people talk things out and work through it and kind of come to an agreement at the end of the day where everybody can continue to have a great experience regardless of our differences.
Life skills learned at camp. As Kyle explains, the training and experiences at camp go far beyond the week-to-week operations. Working on staff builds lifelong skills like leadership, communication, teamwork, and problem solving. These lessons stay with staff members long after the summer ends. Here's Kyle sharing how those experiences have carried over into his career and everyday life. Ed said a very similar thing in last week's podcast where he mentioned that, being on staff helps you to learn some life skills. Do you see that, kind of in the staff week, in the training that the scouts receive and the staff receives to prepare for camp, that there are some skills that they can carry through in all aspects of their life?
Oh, absolutely. During the staff week training, we do public speaking things. So a lot of times you get junior staff members that'll come in. They've never stood in front of a group of people before and had to present something or had to speak in front of a group of people. And sometimes that's not just scouts. So it's one thing if I'm a 16, 17-year-old junior staff member and I'm sitting in front of 4 or 5 or 6 scouts that are all younger than me, and that I know for a fact that, I have more knowledge in this particular subject area because I've been trained in it. So that I'm comfortable there. But now, okay, let's bring in an adult leader who is sitting in on the merit badge session. That can make some staff members, not just junior staff, that can make a lot of staff members nervous. Or just the fact that they're now standing up in front of a group of 200 people at a Sunday night campfire. People they don't know, people that, so it can make a lot of people nervous. So public speaking is a huge part of our staff training and being willing to get up and talk in front of a group. And again, that's something that can easily transfer anywhere into life. You're going to have to, especially in the working world, in the corporate world even, where maybe you become a team leader on a project in your company and now, okay, this is a little bit easier. I'm used to standing in front of 200 people. So now if I get to stand in front of 20 people, that's no big deal to me. and then teach backs, working with people and kind of helping them to understand a new skill or understand a new way of doing something. Again, transfers really to any career field in the world. I mean, I'm a career firefighter. I was a high school teacher. So definitely it has helped me, when I was a teacher, it helped me a lot. And it has helped me as I've transitioned into an officer's role as a career firefighter and working with younger firefighters that are coming through the training academy and then getting assigned in the field and being able to work with them and help them grow their career and grow their knowledge, their skill set. So that's stuff that has directly come from my experience of working as a staff member at camp. So we really spend a lot of time on training that, building those leadership skills, building those confidence skills, building those public speaking skills, as well as problem solving skills. There's going to be things that come up. You're in the woods, you're in the wild. There's going to be things that come up unexpected. What can we do to overcome that? And that's things that we like to work on in our training there that can very, very strongly be used and helpful in the real world outside.
One of the interesting things I found about staff at camp, I didn't really learn until my oldest son was on camp staff for a couple of years, was that the training just doesn't stop during training week. It's ongoing throughout the season of camp, and the staff is evaluated periodically and given feedback on their performance, which I think is another invaluable life skill. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the evaluations actually it's a great life skill for both sides, for the camp staff member, that's being evaluated, as well as the evaluator. So it's a twofold process that is important for both people involved in that process. But throughout the course of the summer, there's both informal and formal evaluations being done by senior staff, of junior staff, by area directors of their instructors that work in the area, as well as the program director and the camp director of the area directors and the other staff members. So there's constant evaluation going on. And like in my experience as an area director, I thought it was important to provide feedback regularly to my staff members informally, just through conversations and things like that. But there's also a formal evaluation process that gets done 3 times throughout the summer. At the end of week 1, end of week 3, and into week 5. And then there's the final evaluation that goes into the director's closing report. But that's a written formal evaluation where we sit down with the staff member and we have a form that we fill out and we discuss it. And we talk about that, their strengths. The first thing we point out on that form is what are your strengths? What are the things that you're doing really, really well? And then we talk about room for improvement. I don't say it's a weakness. I say it's like, hey, here's things where I notice you are not as strong in. Let's work on a way together to try and help you become strong in those areas. And sometimes people don't even realize that's an area like, oh, I didn't realize I was doing that. Or I didn't realize that maybe that was something that I looked uncomfortable while doing. And so it's a great way to kind of give them that formal feedback of how we can work together to improve the program for everybody and improve their skills as a program instructor or area director and things of that nature. So the area directors are doing informal evaluations, like I said, on a daily basis with their staff, and then the formal evaluation several times throughout the summer. Program director is doing the same with the area directors. Again, informal on a daily basis. When I was the program director, my goal was to be in each program area at least twice a week. So at least 2 times during the week, I was going to hit every single program area. Sometimes Brian would have to, he always swore he was going to put a GPS tracker in my boots because he never knew where I was. I was always out and around in camp. I was very rarely in the office when I was the program director. But that was my job, was to be out in the program areas, watching, assisting. And it's evaluating the area directors, but it's also what can I do to help them? What can I maybe provide to them to increase the effectiveness or the fun, of their program area. So that type of thing. And it was great for me when I was a staff member and I was being evaluated. And then also as an evaluator, it helps me to kind of be able to go through. And when I'm looking at my staff members' areas of improvement, sometimes that triggers on me like, hey, I'm seeing all my staff members kind of have this same area where I'm like, hey, they could be better at this. So maybe that's on me to become I need to better prepare them for that. So it's kind of great on both sides, the evaluation process. It helps everybody.
Advice for future staff members. For anyone thinking about joining the Rotary staff, Kyle has some advice. Not just about the training and responsibilities, but about the friendships, the growth, and the once-in-a-lifetime experiences that come from being part of camp. Here's what he has to say to future staff members and to parents and leaders who might be listening too. I want to kind of give you an opportunity to maybe share some thoughts with a young adult or a scout who's thinking about joining staff, and having listened to this discussion today about all the training that goes on and all the activities that go on behind camp or behind the scenes at camp. What would you tell them? Is the process worth it? Should they do it? Is there anything else you'd like to share with somebody who's thinking about being on staff?
Absolutely. Again, we can talk about the training that's provided, and hopefully that gives a potential staff member comfort in knowing that they're not going to be put into a situation that they're unprepared for. I know a lot of times younger people especially, might be nervous about that type of thing. Like, I don't want to be put in a situation where I'm going to fail. And, we're going to provide that support to them to make sure that they don't fail. They're going to have a great job for the summer. They're going to learn some important skills that are going to transfer to life and hopefully have some fun at the same time. Staff members, some 16, 17, 18, 19-year-olds want to hear, I want to learn these skills that are going to help me in life. Others are like, hey, I just want to go have a good time this summer. I went to camp as a camper. It was a great time. It always looked like the staff was having fun. I want to be a part of that too. The thing I can say about that, beyond the training, there's a lot more to being on camp staff than what anybody can possibly see. You have to experience it. Lifelong relationships, friendships. I have friends on different continents that I've worked with, at summer camp that I still stay in touch with all the time. So the experiences you're going to have, you're going to learn those life skills. You're going to learn, how to do things that maybe you never thought you could do. I was before becoming the COPE director, I was deathly afraid of heights. And, so I learned by doing that you can overcome those. Now I'm a career firefighter. I climb a 100-foot ladder and think nothing of it. So there are, a lot of things that you learn beyond just those skills, those, specifically trained skills. There's a lot of things you can learn to do to overcome and things that you never thought would be possible for yourself. But again, and then there's those lifelong relationships, those friendships that you're going to develop, those bonds. Basically, it's like a second family, and I'm fortunate enough to have been involved in the staff now for 26, 27 years, and I've developed a lot of relationships with people over those years, and really consider them to be part of my family now. And we rely on each other outside of camp. So it's a lot to it. The training is great, the life skills are great, but the experience is something that you have to have for yourself, that you can't really necessarily explain some of those feelings.
Kyle, I want to thank you so much for joining me on the podcast here today, and thank you for sharing your insights about what it's like to be on staff at Rotary and all the training that goes into it, and a lot of the behind the scenes things that occur in order to get camp prepared, and also in order to sustain camp for all of the campers that attend, and to make sure that each camper gets the same experience as every other camper that comes each week. So thank you. I really appreciate your time and for being here. What an incredible conversation. Kyle's story reminds us that being on staff at Rotary Scout Reservation isn't just about running programs. It's about building confidence, developing life skills, and creating lasting friendships that span decades and even continents. From National Camping School to Staff Week and every week of summer in between, the dedication and training of Rotary staff help create unforgettable experiences for every scout who walks through the gate. Kyle, thank you for sharing your story and for the years of leadership and service you've given to Rotary Scout Reservation. And to our listeners, whether you're a parent, a scout, a leader, or someone who once called Rotary home, We'd love to hear your memories, stories, and questions. You can reach out through our website at meetmeatthegrizz.com or on social media to join the conversation. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to follow and share Meet Me at the Grizz so more people can hear these stories from camp. Until next time, I'm Ken Clough. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you around the campfire.